I was going to say something quite similar actually to you, because, and just in support of what you're saying in terms of, you know, the generation, the hierarchy, and actually what you see in the Black community culture, the family systems, is this very authoritarian parenting. So you get, you know, in an authoritarian parenting, you get the dominance, you get the hierarchy, and, you know, and like you said, what do you do when you're, you know, you're down at the bottom of the pack, you know, or maybe not, when you're at the top, right? You're the oldest sibling and you've got all this responsibility on your head, on your shoulders, that's being put on you, and, you know, you have to then set the example for your younger siblings, and it's a lot of pressure, you know, especially then if you're doing a university degree that you don't even want to do, and you feel like then there's the pressure of failing and disappointing the parents and all the money that's been invested, and, you know, it's just all a big mix. And I think, like you said, you mentioned before, about it's just impossible, you know, this impossibility to sort of, and also the cultural disrespect, right? You know, the disrespect, you're talking up to your parents, talking up to your uncle, or, you know, it's there is that, there will be that sense of disrespect, and so I would always, well, I mean, you know, I would say that also cultural differences should also be respected and understood, and worked with. You know, it's not that we then have to bang your family's door down like we're going to be mental health advocates. I mean, what's that really going to do if they, you know, if they're going to perceive it as a disrespect? So I think conversations need to be done in different ways if they can, you know, and don't, because nobody likes to be preached at, right? Even if that's what you're getting from your parents, but they're not going to want to be preached at, especially from a child, you know, their child, that, like you said, you know, I changed your nappies, I fed you milk, like, how dare you, you know? Learn some respect, boy, right? to like, so, but it means that, okay, two things: either you try to have a conversation, you know, I'll tell you one thing. Maybe what could work is when you have achieved a certain level of status. Okay. When you have achieved a certain level of status that earns you the respect of your parents, then they will listen to you. So it may be about that, finding your own path, okay, and getting to a point where you feel you are successful. And I don't mean necessarily externally you're making a certain amount of money or you're working in a specific place. No, that you have found yourself, and that you've found your own level of self-respect, and you found your own level of status, whatever that is. And then then that will give you the confidence to be yourself and say, you know what, look, I'm making my own way here. I'm no longer dependent on you. And only when you've achieved that sense of independence and that status will they probably respect then what you have to say. And maybe then can you sit down with them and say, you know what, this, and this, you know, when I was growing up, you know, this, I needed more of this, and how to repair then the damaged relationships from the past. Or the solution is you just accept that it's an impossible task. and when you reach a point of acceptance, then you have peace, right? Because it's trying to change something that can't be changed. That's what will drive somebody to insanity as well. So, you know, it might be a thing of you just have to accept what you can't change, you know. It's like the wisdom to know the difference of what you can and cannot control. And when you accept what you cannot control, then that's when you attain peace. And so, you know, with these cultural differences, I think there may be a line that you need to draw to maintain your own sense of sanity and have a relationship with the individuals in your family that don't understand. as well, you know, and just accept that, okay, you know, that's the limit of their understanding, that's their full capacity, and they don't get it, and that's fine. Why
Yeah,
should they have to understand? Why should
yeah,
anyone have to understand something if they can't?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
They not, no one should have to.
Now, just adding to that point, like we said before, I feel like even if we can't get there with our own parents, we've got to break the cycle and not do that to our kids.
mhm,
And like that's probably the best thing we can do for like
yeah.
for generations to come. Because yeah, moving. I think we are about to wrap this up, guys. But then the next one was mental health preventions and spotting signs. So what have you guys seen within yourselves or other people? Any patterns? Any regular patterns that you've seen that you've done as a person experiencing mental health?
I think what I've spotted is kind of how people react with their studies. Because I've been around students a while. You know, it leads back to number one, how they react to their studies and their social environment. I know some people are just they just like to be alone and they go through that, and that's how they get the best out of them. But most people that I know from my culture are quite bubbly. And if I notice someone, especially from where I come from, because I'm still learning about other people's culture, unlike Emmanuel that was born here being integrated, I'm still meeting people new and finding out, oh, this is how things are done in a certain way from their community. I'm always exploring. But the signs I notice from mine is because where I come from, they have so much um, independence on you achieving excellence in university. And once I see someone start you know, not bothering about how will I say it? Because paying for school fees here is a law. Some people are well off that they can pay, but you can spot people that the parents have actually sacrificed their love for them to be here. And that puts them under the pressure of trying to do their best to get the best results they can, to make it in life for their parents or for the whole family as a whole. And when I notice that they are not putting in their best in the studies, they kind of start deviating from the studies. That's when one of the signs I notice that something might be wrong or something is going on. So I always associate it with studies and just basically studies how the performance is. If they're talking about exams, or if someone is always talking about exams, it shows they're committed, or you should have anxiety when exam is coming up because so much is dependent on it. But if you're not, if you're just nonchalant, or you don't discuss about your coursework, you're not bouncing off people around you, that's a sign for me.
And I'll just add in there the decline in the academic engagement is really a really good point. And then also withdrawal, like not communicating, just any changes in behavior as well. Any changes in behavior, if you're crying a lot and you don't know why, right? Sleeping a lot or you can't sleep. When things start to affect your day-to-day functioning, then it's a real problem. Yeah, then it's okay. I should probably speak to somebody and go to my doctor. So when it's affecting your day-to-day functioning, like eating, sleeping, being able to finding enjoyment in the usual things you would find enjoyment in, if that's stopped, then it's a problem. But yes, I think with withdrawing, closing down, I've seen, and the academics as well, within the Black community, especially because there's so much emphasis on the academia from parents, perhaps not always, but I'm sort of speaking generally. Then if that starts to decline, then yeah, there's a sign there.
Yeah, I feel like when we're talking about prevention as well, I'm like, when it comes to communication, like texting and stuff, I can be incredibly awful. But I feel like if you do know a friend that's like going through something or struggling with their job, just drop them a quick message. It literally takes like a second. Or even like sending memes on Instagram. I feel like nowadays most of my friends, I communicate with them through Insta or like Snapchat. So even stuff like that, or sending them songs, sending them playlists, just little things like that that might help them distract themselves. Just showing a little bit of thought. But yeah, I feel like that was basically it. The last thing was for if you could briefly explain the formal steps of reporting any mental health concerns, or the procedure in a sense, and then we're basically done, guys.
So if you're worried, I suppose if you're worried about somebody else, then you can raise it various places. If they're on campus, if there's an immediate problem, if there's an immediate crisis, then you can call the security if you're living on campus. If you're living off campus and there's an immediate risk concern, then you call 999. Yeah. If it's less of a risk and more of a concern and you're not really quite sure what to do, then you can you can email the dean of students. You can email Student Wellbeing. If you know that maybe your friend or someone that has a good relationship with someone on their course, like a lecturer or a tutor, then you can email them. Any way that you can see a channel. But I know with the dean of students and Student Wellbeing, if we were contacted, then we would probably ask for more information as to the situation. Like if there's a risk concern, then again we can arrange for the RAs or the security or emergency services. And when I mean high risk concern, that means if somebody is harming themselves to a point where their life is at risk, or let's say there's a suicidal concern, like somebody is saying that they are going to take their life, they have a plan to, and they have a means to, then that would be a more urgent response that we would take. If it was a concern, like a wondering, a question, a concern, then we would just on a case-by-case basis then be able to offer the suggested routes of support depending on what the situation is. And less risky concerns, then everybody really, in terms of student wellbeing at least, people self-refer via the self-referral link on studentwellbeing.hearts.ac.uk, and you fill out a self-referral form, and then from there, and it's difficult because sometimes when there's a friend that's reporting a concern and say we've actioned it, we've taken it up, and that student may be receiving some mental health treatment, then it's difficult because that remains confidential. We can't actually inform the friend or the concerned parent or whoever it is raised it with the full information, because we have to protect the student's information. So that can be a challenge, but if we pick something up, then we are dealing with it, and it's the right thing that a concerned friend has done. You've done your bit, basically. You've put it in the right place, and you can then just accept that it's going to be taken care of if you've been informed in that way. I think I covered most of the bases.
Yeah, I think you covered everything. Well, I think that's it, guys. Thanks for all of you guys for taking part. As Chani said, if anyone did need help or was going through something, we've dropped all the resources, so just don't ever hesitate to get in contact. Even if you see us about, just come and talk to us. But yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for taking part, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.